Hello everyone, welcome to this Power BI video series. I am Sultan. In the previous video, I introduced the Power BI. In this video, I will give you an introduction to the Power BI desktop and I will create a sample report. Power BI desktop is a free business intelligence development tool from Microsoft. Power BI desktop allows data collection, data transformation, data analysis, and report creation. I will show you how to download and install the Power BI desktop. Once the Power BI desktop is ready to use, and as we travel, I will give a quick overview of the user interface. Then I will show you how to perform ETL operations, that is importing data, data cleansing, data transformation, and finally data loading. All these operations will be through the Power Query, that is reshaping data through Power Query. Once data is loaded and ready to use, then I will show you how to do data modeling. I will show how to establish relationships between tables. Then I will briefly discuss DAX, measures, and calculated columns, and create it for the report. After completing the data modeling, it is time to showcase the data. I will also go through features such as filter and slicer. To create a report, we need data. I have used Microsoft AdventureWorks 2019 database and simplified it. I have put it in the Excel file. I will be using this Excel file as a data source. Enough talking, time to start working on the sample report. So let's start. To download Power BI desktop, open Microsoft Store and search for Microsoft Power BI desktop. Now this is the first one. If you want to filter it out, you can click on apps. Let's click on get. It may take a while to download, so I will skip this process. Another way to download Microsoft Power BI desktop is open any search engine and search for Microsoft Power BI desktop. Download. From the list, I will select the first option. Click on download and select the required bit file, either 32-bit or 64-bit. And then click on download and follow the prompt. Now let's go back to the Microsoft Store. Now Power BI desktop is ready to use. Let's click on the open to start. When you open Power BI desktop, it may ask you to register, but at this stage it is not required. You can skip that process. To start the new report, click on blank report. Now we are landed in Power BI desktop. Let me give you the quick overview of Power BI desktop. On the top in the ribbon menu, on the left side of the screen, you can see there are 4 icons. The first one is report view. The second one is table view. The third one is model view. And fourth one is DAX query view. On the right side, you can see a data section, visualization section, and filter section. As we don't have any data imported yet, the data section is empty. To import the data, let's click on get data. I will select the first option, Excel workbook. Select and click on connect. Select sample report. Let's select all of them. Now we have to transform the data. I will click on transform data button. This will take us to the Power Query editor. In Power Query editor, you can do data transformation, data cleansing, and data manipulation. On the left side of the window, you can see the imported tables. On the right side of the window, you can see the selected table name. And you can see also a group says applied steps. Whenever you make any changes in Power Query editor, all steps are recorded under applied steps. Let's go onto the customer table. Now in the center of the screen, you can see some codes here. So this is M language code. From the home tab, you can click on advanced editor, or you can right click on the table and you can click on advanced editor. Now it will take you to the editor. M language is the data transformation language of Power Query. Anything that happens in Power Query is written in language M. Power BI query editors allow different types of data operations on table, column, or rows. When you want to replace some value in your column, you can select the column and you can use the replace value function from here. If you want to split one column into a multiple, you can use split column option. When you want to remove the column, this is the option you can use, remove columns. And when you want to transform something, let's say if you want to do pivot operation or unpivot operations, this is the option you should be using. If you want to format your data, if you want to rename the column, you can use rename. Or when you want to do any operation on the selected columns, you can always right click on it and you can see the available options in here. You can also add a new column into a table. There are quite a few options available to add a new column. So let's do some data transformation for our sample report. We are in customer table. Let's go to the country region table. Now you can see this table has a two column 1 and column 2, but that is not the right column header. The right column header is country region and name, which is the first row of the table. We want to promote this first row as column headers. Select it, and then we can go to make sure you are on home tab, and then you can go to use first row as header. Click on it. Now you can see the first row is now promoted as header, and under applied steps you can see there are two steps added: promoted headers and change type. Now let's go into the table customer. Now see the customer ID data is integer data is number, but now you can see the data type, it says is ABC in front of it. You can see it says ABC. Now if you see the second rows, it says the customer ID is ABCD, and it also has a territory ID as a text, which is not correct. So we want to remove this row. On the customer ID column, click on down arrow and say remove. Let's select and unselect it and click on OK. So now you can see the data is filtered on. You can check in applied steps group. A new step is added. Power BI has filtered out the rows. Now we can change the data type of customer ID column to a number. So let's say right click, change type from text to whole number. Also as we change, you can see it has a 1, 2, 3. So this is how you can change the data type into Power BI query editor. Let's go to column modified date and examine it. Let's click on drop down button. Let's click on load more. We can see this column has only one value. Click OK. Let's remove this column. Right click and remove. Now the column has been removed. Under applied steps, you can see the new step removed columns is added. Let's go to table sales order header. Now this table has a couple of date column: order date, due date, ship date. Okay. Now you can see the order date and ship date does not have any times, but due date has a timestamp here. Now we want to remove this timestamp from due date column. We have to change the data type from date time to date only. Let's right click on due date column, change type, and change type from date time to date only. Now you can see in the column the timestamp has been removed, and under applied step has been added, changed type 1. Now let's go to table sales order detail. Now let's sort the data by sales order ID. Click on drop down button and click on sort ascending. For the first 5 rows, you can see sales order ID is null. You can't have any ID column as a null. Okay. We will remove these null rows from the data. We want to remove this top 5 rows. There is an option in the home tab. It says remove rows. Okay, so let's click on remove rows. Now it says remove top rows, so we can click on this and it will ask that how many number of rows you want to remove. So you can enter 5 and you can click on OK. but this is not a good practice. You can't remove the top rows. Okay, the reason is next time when you will refresh your data, it will go and remove the top 5 rows. And if the top 5 rows are not null, and if it has some data into it, it will still go ahead and remove the rows. The best way to do is we can filter it out these rows. Let's click on the arrow here. Now you can see the null rows are selected here. So let's go and unselect and click OK. And null rows are removed, and under applied steps you can see the step is added filtered rows. Now let's add a new column. You can see online order flag. It has a value of only 0 and 1. We want to add a new column, online order, that will have a yes and a no. This will be our base column. So let's say cancel here. To add a new column, go to tab add column and click on conditional column. Let's name the column online order. If column online order flag equal to 1, then yes, else no. Click on OK. New column online order is added. Now let's click on drop down, and you can see there are only 2 values, yes and no. Click on load more, it still says yes and no. Let's click on OK and change its data type. There is no data type selected, so let's say text. So now we have also changed the data type of online order column. This is how you can add a new column in Power Query Editor. Now let's go to table product. Let's examine some products here. If you see in row number 22, the product ID 341 is repeating and the name is also repeating. The product ID 342 is repeating 3 times and the name is also repeating 3 times. So we need to remove the duplicate rows from here. In Home tab, go to Remove Rows, and there is a feature says Remove Duplicates. Click here. Now you can see the duplicate rows are removed, 341, 342. This is the way to remove the duplicate rows. We are done doing data cleansing and data transformation. We have to go back to Power BI desktop editor. Click on close and apply, which is on the top left of the ribbon. Now our data is loading here. Now the first thing I will do is I will save the document. Control S, click on more options here, and I will name it sample report 1 and click on save. On the right side of the screen under the data section, you can see the tables here. Let's expand the first table, country region. You can see it has a 2-column country region code and name. You can see the columns of this table here. Now if we want to see the data inside the table, on the left side of the screen there is a table view icon. Let's click onto it. You can see the data inside the table country region. Let's say click on the product. Now you can see the data inside the table here. Click on the customer table and you can see all the columns here. We can also do data formatting in Power BI desktop. Let me show you. Let's select the column order date. In the ribbon, go to column tools. You will see the properties of selected columns. For example, column name, what data type it is, which format it has. So let's change the format of this column order date. We want to change it to the short date. So go to the format section here, click onto the drop down button, and from here you can select the short date option. Now let's go to report view. Now we have all the required table here. Now it is time to do a data modeling. But before doing the data modeling, I want to show you something quickly. Go to sales order header table. There are 3 date columns here: due date, order date, and ship date. In front of these 3 columns, you can see there is a calendar icon. You can also see there is a date hierarchy under that column. As a best practice in BI, we should have our own calendar table. Okay, if we don't have, then Power BI will create a date hierarchy or date calendar for each and every date column in each and every table. And when we have too many rows, that might cause a memory issue. As a good practice, we have to disable the auto date and time option in our file. So let's go to File tab, go to Option and Settings, go to Options. Now there are two sections here, one is global and one is for the current file, so we will disable in both of them. So in global, you can see under the time intelligence, the auto date time for new file is selected. Let's unselect, go to our current file and click on data load. You can see it's under time intelligence, it is also selected auto date time. So let's unselect and click on OK. Now you can see the calendar icon is disappeared from these three date columns: ship date, order date, and due date. Now let's create a calendar table. Go into Modeling tab, click on New Table. I have already got the codes here. Now if you don't understand this code at this stage, don't worry about it. These are the DAX code, and hit and enter. Now on the right side under the data section, you can see the calendar table is added. Let's quickly review the data. Go to Table View. The table is selected and you can see the data here. Go back to Report View. We have to mark this calendar table as our date table. So go to the far right on the calendar table, click on three dots. Now you can see there is an option there, Mark as Date Table. Click onto it, turn it on, and select that column from calendar table, which is date. It has validated successfully. Click on Save. We have successfully marked our calendar table as our date table. You can see there is a tick there. Let's create a date hierarchy and calendar table. Expand it. Let's go to the year column. Click on more options here. Now click on Create Hierarchy. Now you can see the year hierarchy is added. Currently there is only one column in the hierarchy. Now we have to add more, month and a date. We have added a year hierarchy into our calendar table. Now let's rename it to a date hierarchy. Now we have our all required data tables. It is time to do a data modeling. To do the data modeling, we have to make sure we have established the relationship between our tables. So to do that, we need to go to the model view. Let's go to model view now. Now you can see some of the tables are already linked. Let me show you why it is already linked. Let's go to a File tab, then Options and Settings, Options. Now if you go to your current file and in data model, in relationships group, auto detect new relationships after data is loaded is selected, and that is the reason. The relationships are always established based on the column's name. Most of the time it works, but sometimes it also end up creating incorrect relationship between tables. So I would prefer to mark it off, and let's click on OK. So for the future new table, it won't establish the relationship between them. Now to check the columns, which columns have been used to establish the relationship, let's select the line here. I have to still establish relationships between some of the tables like salesperson, store, and product table, and then product subcategory. To establish the relationship between table, you can go to the table and then select the column, then start dragging that columns towards to the required table and the column, and then you can drop into it product subcategory ID. Now then the new window will pop up. You can click on Save. So now you can see the new line has been added. I have established the relationship between required table. Now let's quickly review it. When you hover over your mouse to the line, you can see it has a 1 on the customer and the star on the sales order header. This represents one-to-many relationship between customer table and sales order header table. When you see the tables, sales territory and province, state province, there is a breaking lines between them. So when you double click on that line, now you can see this breaking line represents a inactive relationship. You can see on the card here, make this relationship active. It is not selected. If I try to select, it will display an error message. The reason is indirect relationship through table country region. This layout, or I should say schema, is Snowflake schema. Power BI work best with star schema. In star schema, the fact table stays in the center and all the dimension tables are around the fact table and creating a shape like star. As this is a sample report and very few amount of data, I will continue with snowflake schema. Let's go to the report view. Now it is time to add calculation in our report, that is measures and calculated columns through DAX, that is data analysis expression. It is a formula language to define calculations. On the screen you can see there is icon DAX query view. Let's click onto it. Here you can practice your DAX query. Click on run. So now you can see the total. Now let's go back to the report view. First let's create a column into the sales order detail table. We will create a column and name it line cost. Okay, right click onto the table and we can select a new column from here, change it to line cost, write our DAX product cost multiply by quantity, order quantity. This will give us line cost. You can see new column line cost is created. Now let's check the formatting of this column. Select the column and in column tools tab, in format you can see it is a general, but it should not be the general. It should be a decimal number with 2 decimal places. If you want to increase or decrease, you can do it from here and hit an enter. This is how we can create a column, but always remember it is a best practice to create a measure for any calculation. Okay, this is just for an example, and whenever you create any column, it also occupies some space in your file. Let's create a measure. There are two ways to create a measure. Go to home tab and you can see there are two options, new measure and quick measure. Or you can go to your data table and you can also create that. You can go to more options and you can see new measure and new quick measure. These are the same as on the home tab. But before creating the measure, let me show you something that will explain why we need a measure. Now let me drag column line total and drop it onto the canvas here. Now as soon as I drop, you can see it has picked a default visuals which is the clustered column chart. Now let me change it to table. Now you can see it has by default created a sum of the column line total. You can see in the columns here, if I click on the down arrow here, default behavior as sum. If you want to change to something like, let's say, average, now you can see this is an average now, or if you want to say minimum, it is 1.37. Now if you want to count or variance or medians, now let's put it back to the sum. This become an implicit measure. Now let's say if you want to add any business rule here, you can't apply it and you can't create any dynamic calculation using this kind of implicit measures. And that is why explicit measure come into the picture, where you can apply business rules. You can pre-filter your data. You can do dynamic calculation with multiple columns or multiple measures. Let me delete this. Now let me show you how to create a measure. First measure we want to create is the sales value, and we will be using line total column. We can go on to the table header and click on more options and click on new measure. Name it to sales value. I want to do a sum of line total of this particular table and close the bracket, enter. In sales order detail table, a new measure is added. Measures always has a calculator icon in front of them, so that's how you can identify that they are measure. Let's click it. Now our measure is created, but let's do some formatting here. So we are in measure tools tab. Okay, so from here you can go to the format here. We want to apply the currency. You can either click from here or you can directly click on this dollar sign, and we don't want to do any auto. We want to go and put it as 0. We don't want any decimal place. Now let's drag and drop this sales value new measure onto the canvas here and change the visual to a table here. Let me drag the country name, country region, and the name here. So now it is displaying the sales value by country. Now let's change this name to country. So we will be going into the column groups here. We can right click on to the column and we can say rename for this visual, and I will change it to country. Now it is changed to the country. You can see here. Now this visual is for all the country. Now let's say I want to create a measure which will pre-filter the data for only Australia. Okay, I will go to sales order detail and click on new measure. Name this measure sales value Australia equal to, when we want to pre-filter our data, we have to write our code inside function calculate. We have to use calculate, then sum, and now we want to filter. What we want to filter? Okay, let's say filter. Okay, now with this filter, now it says now you need to give the table name. What should be the table name? Should be the country region. Okay, and what should be the field? The name. Okay, the name equal Australia. Okay, now let's close the filter and close the calculate function. Enter. Just sales value Australia is also added. Now let's quickly go and give the formatting to currency, and we don't need any decimal places. Now let me grab this one to the canvas and change it to the table. Okay, now you can see it has only one country, which is Australia, which is, if I go and grab a country name in front of this one, you would see that it has only Australia is coming. Power BI has also auto pre-filter the country as well. Okay, and I will go and drag it here. Now you can see it is only displaying the value for Australia. All the rest of the countries are blank. So now this is how you can create a measure and apply the filters here. Let's create a measure using the feature quick measure. You can either click on here or you can go into again table here and you can say quick measure. Quick measure act as wizard. It gives you an option to create your measure. Okay, so if we click on this select calculation, I will be creating a measure here which will pre-filter the data for Australia as we have just recently did manually. Now we will be doing the same thing with the help of quick measure. Let's click on filter value. It says the base value. What is your base value? Our base value is line total. So we go to the line total column and drag and drop on this base value. It says now sum of line. Now it says filter what you want to filter. You can go in the country region table and let's drag and drop name on the filter here. Now we have to apply that what should be the name. Okay, so now our name should be Australia. So when I click on the arrow here, select Australia. Okay, click here. Now let's click on add. New measure line total for Australia is added. Okay, and when you check the code, it says line total for Australia, calculate function, sum of this table, and it is filtering for the Australia. Okay, so this is how you can create a quick measure. Now let's drag and drop onto the canvas, change it to the table view. Both of them have the same result. I will stop here and I will create a couple of measures and I will be back soon. I have created some measures here. Let me show you. In sales order detail table, you can see the line total for Australia, which was already there. Now order quantity, a line total for bikes. So we have pre-filtered the line total only for the bike category, bike product category. Now order quantity for Australia. Then we have used the average to find out the average for the order quantity. Let's review the profit measure. Now you can see it has used a function SUMX. Okay, the SUMX is used when you want to do a calculation which involves multiple columns and you have to maintain the context. Then you have to use the SUMX. I will remove these visuals from the canvas. Save the document. It is time to showcase the data. Visualization brings data to life and provides clear and concise information of the insights hidden. Bar chart and column chart are good choice to compare values across the dimensions or categories. Line chart is widely used to compare over the period or to find out the trend. Pie chart or donut chart can be used to find out the contribution. To project data geographically, a map can be used. Gauge visual is used to check if the KPI or target is achieved or not. To project the key metrics, you can use card or multi-row card. Table and matrix are good choice to present data in traditional tabular format. To create a visual from the list, you can click on the visual, or from the data table, you can drag and drop the required measure onto the canvas, and you can change it to the required visual by selecting to it. So now it has changed to stacked bar chart. This visual is displaying the order quantity. Okay, we want to display this order quantity by category. So first we will select the visual, then we will go to the product category table and click onto the name, or you can drag and drop onto the visual. Now it is displaying data. It is displaying order quantity by product category. Okay, you can see it says the name here. Okay, now let's change this header from name to category product. When you hover your mouse over to the category, it is displaying category bikes, and order quantity is 98,000, and that is why it is displaying 100,000 as highest value here. It is displaying, or it is comparing the data by category here. Okay, now let's say you want to project the subcategories as well. Let's say bike is the parent category. Now bikes has a subcategories as well. To project the subcategories of bike, we will go to the product subcategory table, and we will drag and drop it onto anywhere on the visual. You can see the data is projected by subcategories as well. The parent category is bike, and then the subcategory is mountain bike, road bike, and touring bikes. When you hover your mouse over to the category or subcategory, you can see the numbers. Okay, order quantity. It is not visible. To display the data label, let's do some formatting. Select the visual, go to the visualization section, and go to format your visual tab. And when you scroll it down, you can see this data label is off. So let's turn it on. As soon as we turn it on, you can see it is displaying the subcategories values. What is the total for the bikes? Okay, so to see the total, we have to turn it on. As soon as you turn it on, you can see in the visual now bikes, you can see its total is 98,000, and that 98,000 is divided in 3 different subcategories. Okay, let me create a few visuals. I have created a couple of visuals here, and I was running out of space, so I have to add new pages. So in total we have 3 report tabs: page 1, page 2, and page 3. Okay, now to create a new page or new tab, you can simply click on the plus sign. Our current report layout is for the desktop layout. If you see on the bottom left side of the window, you can see there is a desktop layout view icon, and the next one is the mobile layout view. If you want to create a mobile friendly version, you can go on to the required report tab, and then you can click on the mobile layout view. It will give you an option for auto create a mobile layout. Let's click onto it. Now you can see our 4 visuals are laid out one by one, and it has created a mobile friendly layout here. If you want to change any of the layout or size or width, you can click on the visual, and from the visualization section you can format the visual as required. Let's change it back to desktop layout view. Let me give you a quick overview of visuals I have added. I have also added a report title. Uh, to add the report title, I have inserted a new text box, and you can apply your title here, and you can format as required. Let's check this second visual here. This column cluster chart visual is displaying the data order quantity by year and category. The next visual is 100% stacked column chart. This displays the sales value by a year and by country. In each year, it displays the contribution of each country. The next visual is a line chart. This visual is displaying data by year, and it is projecting the data trend, and it is comparing order quantity online versus total order quantity. Now let's move on to the page 2. It is a pie chart visual. It is displaying the profit. and it is projecting the contribution of each country. To display the key metrics for Australia, like order quantity and sales value, we have used the card. Move on to the page 3. In page 3, I have created a traditional tabular data table. When you want to display tabular data and more than one measure, table is the best choice. So this is all about your visuals, displaying your data. It is time to add some filter on our report. Currently, what the data is projected is the all data. Let's say if you want to see the particular data, you want to filter it out, what we can do. There are two options. You can apply the filter from the filter section here. Let me expand it. Click here in the filter section. Now you can see there is nothing here. Okay, so you can apply the filter on the all page level, which is when you drag and drop any field here. Now that field will be applied on all the pages 1 2 3, whatever number of pages you have, it will apply that filter on all the pages. If you want to apply the filter on a page level, you can drag and drop your dimension here. Okay, now but let's say if you want to apply the filter on visual level, you can select the visual itself. Now as soon as you select the visual, you can see the filters here. Okay, so now it let you filter out the data for the columns which is on your selected visuals. Okay, so let's say if I want to filter the selected table for subcategory category. Okay, you can click on subcategory here. It will give you the choice to select, or you can go and change the advanced level. But I think let's go back to the basic filter. Let's say I want to see the caps only, so you can click on caps. Now your all the data is filtered out based on subcategory, but it is filtered only for the selected visual. You can see the next table, the data is not filtered at all. Okay, so in that case, if you want to filter on the page level, you have to, let me clear it out. Then you click on anywhere on the canvas, then you go to, let's say, product subcategory. Now then you drag and drop the name onto filter on this page. Now if I go and select the cap, there is a cap. Okay, now you can see the data is filtered on both the tables. But now let's say filter pane is collapsed. Okay, now I can't see what if there is any filter is applied. I can't see here that what filter is applied or if the filter is not applied. Okay, now to check if there is any filter applied to your visual, the easiest way is move your mouse to the visual, and once you see the options on the top right side of your visual, you can move your mouse to the funnel and just wait, and it will show you the tooltip if there is any filter is applied. So this is the way to find out if there is any filter applied to your visual. The way to apply the filter is by creating the slicer. Slicer is a more advanced and customized. Let's click on the slicer here. Slicer provides a more advanced and customized way to filter the data. Frequently used dimension can be used in a slicer. A user can easily notice if the filter is applied. Let's create a slicer for the calendar. Click onto the slicer and go to the calendar. Let's drag and drop the year hierarchy. You can either drag and drop to on the field here, or you can drag and drop to the visual itself. It is displaying the year here, but we don't have the much real estate here. Okay, so now let's go and quickly format our slicer. Go to visualization section, go to the tab, format your visual. Now you can see the slicer setting. So let's change it to, instead of the vertical list, change it to drop down list. Let's go back to it. Okay, and click on the drop down here. You can see there is a drop down arrow. Let's click onto it. When you click onto it, it will take you to the next level of the dimensions, year, quarter, then month itself. So if I go and click on the February 3, now it will display the data for February 3 2022. To find out the applied filter, move your mouse to the any visual and then move it to the funnel again. It is projecting the applied filter. Let's go back to it, and let's say if you want to see the whole 2022, you can just simply click onto it. It is displaying data for only year 2022. So this is the way to filter your data using slicer. Quickly create the slicer for the category. Let me collapse this one. Let me go to the category, and I can drag and drop the name here. Once it is there, then I have to change this from table visual to slicer visual. Now you can see, now I have to do the formatting to manage the real estate. Go to tab, format your visual. In slicer setting, instead of the wording, select drop down, and you can resize, and you can put it here. So let's change this name to product category. Okay, so let's say to clear the filter, I clear here. Now you can see that there is no filter is applied. Okay, now let's say apply the filter for only clothing. So now it is easy to find out that there is a filter applied on the page for the category clothing. Let's apply the filter for the year 2022. Go to the calendar, then select. So now you can see the data is changed, and we can also easily identify that the filter is applied for the year 2022 and the category clothing. If you want to apply the same slicer on all the pages, you can control and click, and you can copy visuals, or control C, then you can go to the all pages and you can paste, and it will ask you to sync on all the page. So say yes. So let's say if I change the year from 2022 23, and there is no data for the 2023. What about 21? Yes, there is data for 2021, and we want to see only for the bikes. Okay, so we select the bikes, and you can see that all the visuals are filtered. Okay, now let's go and check on the page 2. The same filter is applied here. This is how you can apply filter and slicer on your report page. This brings us to the end of this video. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like button, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.